Hi, you're listening to Book Chat with author Vivian E. Moore.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode. We really appreciate you joining us. This podcast really shows us how we can all learn, live, and thrive off of each other. By sharing our knowledge through our conversations, we will impart some knowledge whilst learning ourselves how to progress even further. Here is your host.
Hello and welcome to Book Chat. I am your host, author Vivian E. Moore. Hope everyone had a great week and I hope that you're having an even better weekend. All right, we're going to get straight to today's show. The title is You Don't Have to Be a Star. And the topic is how to shine light on your talent as an author. You know, when you're just starting as an author, it can feel like you're standing in the shadows of giants, bestseller lists and award-winning names and social media darlings can make the publishing world seem like a competition where only the stars get noticed. But here's the truth. You don't have to be a star to make your mark. Okay? So every writer begins somewhere. Before they top the charts, they navigated the same uncertain waters, right? So, you know, they learned how to connect with readers, to share their voices, and to build their presence one step at a time, okay? So how do you shine light on your talent without chasing after instant fame? You know, I know that is the $1 million question, especially for a ton of authors, especially new authors that haven't really paved their way yet. You know, I know last week we did the show on about stars, you know, just shining stars and things of that nature. Well, you know, I want to shine a light on that a little bit more. And that is the reason why we're staying on that topic, right? Because, you know, you can wish on a star. And we know that is childhood fantasy, right? Because wishing on stars will get you absolutely nowhere as an adult, as a professional. You have to do a little bit more than that. And so today's episode is showing you how to shine a light on yourself. You don't have to be a star to have a light shine brightly on you, but there is a way that has to be paved first before that can happen. Now, I'm not saying that it could not happen, you know, overnight, because we know that things like that have happened. But all I'm saying is this is the realistic approach, okay? And so the best way to do that is to, the number one thing is, first of all, you need to focus on your craft before the charts. Okay. We talked about that a little bit last week also, right? So, let's just focus on what we're doing as authors first and foremost, because, you know, it is so tempting, to obsess over numbers, right? We do it all the time, over rankings and reviews. You know, I know when you release a book, or if you released many books and you go out there and you look at your reviews and it, you know, there may not be many, you may have stars, but the reason for that most of the time is not because people aren't buying and reading your books. They're buying and reading them, but they're not leaving reviews because they don't understand the connection to those first two things, right? It's a complete process of them buying, reading, and then sharing. You know, that is so important because, you know, what it does is it gives your opinion, and then it lets the readers that are coming after you know that, hey, this is a great book and you should read it. And after you read it, you should share. your views on it. So that way the next person that comes across come across that book will repeat that process. So that is why it is so important not to get so hung up on the reviews, because they will come. I like quoting that message from Field of Dreams, right? With Kevin Costner, if you build it, they will come. And it's very true, but you have to actually build on, your craft first before you actually see the benefits of everything that you've done before. Okay. So focus on your craft before the charts, right? So you need to pour your energy into honing your craft, because readers, they connect with quality stories, right? And so in order for that to happen, you need to make sure that you are editing thoroughly, okay? And that you're also creating work that you're proud of, because when your writing is strong, readers notice that, okay? So the next thing we want to focus on is building those relationships, and not just building an audience. And I know that, we like making posts, we like making reels, and we like creating stories for the audience to go out and look and see what we're doing when they look at our post. And we like getting those responses from all the people that are looking at the posts we make. And so, because, that is an important feature of what you're doing, letting your audience know what you're doing, but you also want to build a relationship with them. And the only way to do that is you have to interact with them. Okay. So don't just promote, engage, talk with your readers and other authors and book bloggers. Okay. People, and I don't want to say that people are nosy, but they kind of are, because they like knowing your business, right? Whether you are a celebrity or, basically a nobody, they still want to know who you are. So, share those behind the scene moments and share your inspirations and your struggles, because people like stuff like that. They like the realism of people sharing, that they are actually struggling, because they can connect with that. There's so many people out there that will connect with that because they identify with what you're going through. So that's why it is so important to build those relationships and not just an audience, because people are actually drawn to that authenticity. And when they feel a connection with you, they will root for your success. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to happen overnight either, but it's a process. Okay. And you've heard me speak on celebrating small wins, because every win, it doesn't matter how great or how small, it is still a win. Okay. Your first sale, your first review, your first reader who says, I couldn't put that book down, it was just that great. Okay. These are the milestones that actually matter. They may not make headlines, but they are proof that your words are reaching people. Okay. And then, we need to talk about that collaboration with other authors. Now, I know that there are some authors who do not want to collaborate with you. Okay. They do not want to share the spotlight with you. They do not want the light to shine on anyone else but them. Okay. So you need to collaborate with authors who are down, for the revolution, right? You want those authors who are striving in lockstep with you, who understand the process, and who knows that, it takes a complete village to do anything. Okay. Those are the authors that you want to collaborate with, those that are on that same journey as you are, and not those who feel like, they are above you, and how dare you ask that you have a collaboration with them. Okay. So instead of competing. Just find ways to lift each other up, because that's what it's about, especially now. We need all the uplifting information and people in our circle that we can get, to share each other's their books, and to join those anthologies. I spoke about one of my good friends who just released a new book about a couple of weeks ago, and but her first part of the journey was that she was part of an anthology where she got to write an excerpt in a book that many authors were a part of, because that was so it was so uplifting to see that. So, join those anthologies, or even co-host events, because I think that's important. And that's an idea for me. And I'm going to get with her and see if she wants to do that, because I think that would be great to learn about who she is as an author and her journey as an author. Because, together, you can amplify your voices in ways that you couldn't alone, right? So the next thing I want to talk about is to keep showing up. I think that is the most important part of anything that you do, anything that you are putting your time and your effort into. You have to keep showing up. Okay, you can't let things get you down, get in your way, keep you from progressing simply because, maybe you had a down day, or maybe you had a down week, or even a down month. You just keep going. You have to stoke that fire. Even if the embers are dying out just a little bit, stoke that fire so that it can shine bright and it can re-energize what you're doing. Okay? Because whether you realize it or not, publishing is a marathon, not a sprint. And that quote is really, it is really based on biblical principle, perhaps not the publishing, but most definitely the marathon part, because, the race is not given to the swift, but to those who endure. So remember that, okay? It's not a marathon. It's a marathon. It is not a sprint. Okay. So the authors you admire, they didn't stop after one book or one setback. They continued writing and learning and showing up, because consistency is often what separates those who fade from those who endure. Okay. So, you do not need to be a star to shine, first and foremost. And you need to let your light, your unique voice, your passion, your stories be seen, okay? Because the readers who are meant for you, they will find you. And when they do, your words will matter more than any chart position ever could. So shine where you are, and the world will notice. All right, guys, that is the show for today. And this may be the end of this Star Shining series. I don't know. If I feel inspired to go a little bit more, to have a little bit more on it, then I most definitely will. But I thank you for tuning in today, for listening. And I would appreciate if you would like and also share, because that is so important as well. I thank you. And as I always say before I end every episode, remember to tell those who you care about the most how you feel about them today, because tomorrow is not promised, and it may be the only chance you get to say it. So on that note, I love you. I hope you love me back. And until the next time you hear my voice, God bless you and goodbye.
Loved what you've heard on this week's episode? Well, the answer is simple. It would mean the world to us if you could head over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review and feedback. Spreading the word really is the best way to grow our podcast and achieve even greater things. Thank you.